what you are about to see, trigger warning, what you are about to see is a postpartum abortion, okay? Or postnatal, no, not, yeah, postpartum, yeah, partum abortion. You're about to watch someone get aborted after 26 years of living on this planet, okay? They say liberals hate liberals. They say liberals don't want late-term abortions. Well, we are about to watch a liberal literally conduct one at the age of 26 years after birth.
What are some specific examples that informed this bold decision, this audacious decision says that you aim to, quote, rise
Let's
above
watch the entire 10 minutes, actually. Fuck it. Let's do it.
The partisan fray. Yet you are one of 138 Republicans who voted to decertify the election results. You actually did that even after the January 6 riots. So how does that help you reaching your goal of reaching across the aisle and working with the Biden administration?
Well, I'll tell you, as despicable as the events on January 6th were, it didn't actually affect my thought process on objecting to the election. You see, I wasn't objecting to President Biden himself, and I wasn't doing it on behalf of President Trump. I was doing it on behalf of the Constitution. I think in six key swing states, particularly in Wisconsin, you can see that the state legislature, who is the sole body that is supposed to dictate the law that circumvents and is around all of our election laws, was circumvented. They subverted the state legislatures there, and I believe that's a constitutional infraction.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's unpack that. Can you just share some specific examples of election fraud? What are some specific examples that informed this bold decision, this audacious decision, even after the riots, to decertify the results? You must have seen some concrete evidence.
Well, Pam, the things that I was not objecting to the election on behalf of was things like Dominion voting machines changing ballots, or these U-Haul trucks pulling up filled with ballots for Joe Biden as president. The thing I was objecting for is things like, like I said, in the state of Wisconsin, particularly in the town of Madison.
I'm sorry, but this is anecdotal, but there is no better representation of like white mediocrity being celebrated in the United States of America still to this day than Madison Cawthorn, okay? My man is mid on every level, all right? Like, the fact that he is a fucking sitting below mid, not even mid, like, he just sucks. Everything is fake. Like, literally everything was a build-up for him. Like, this campaign revolved around basically just him looking attractive on camera, okay? The fact that he's in a wheelchair was utilized to kind of imply as though he, like, literally maybe got a war injury. Then more information came out, and then it was like, okay, it wasn't a war injury, but, like, he was on his way to the Naval Academy when he was in a drunk driving accident, and he no longer could go. That came out to be a fucking literal lie, okay? That was a lie. He never actually was accepted into the Naval Academy, okay? He talks about how he's a successful business owner. His real estate corporation was created in 2019 before he started fucking, before he like right around when he started, when he decided he was going to run for office. Like, every part of this dude is just pure aesthetics, okay? Pure fucking aesthetics through and through. Like, on the other hand, you have someone like motherfucking Cori Bush, okay? Literally homeless, like sexual assault survivor, lived on the fucking streets, okay? And like had to claw her way by taking down an establishment Democrat in a position of power, okay? In a comfortable fucking seat that person's family has basically owned for a very long time. And like, you have that on one side, okay? And she's still clawing for relevance and for people to take her seriously. And I'm glad that she's getting that right now. She's getting that level of respect that she deserves. And on the other hand, you have fucking dude who's like, yeah, I'm a successful real estate magnate because what? You have a fucking fake corp that you built in 2019 that has done nothing, by the way. And pure aesthetics around magnate. Whatever, shut up. Pure fucking aesthetics, industry plant all the way. Madison Cawthorn. He's a Paralympian and a war hero. None of it's true. Literally none of it's true. Him saying he's I forget who said this originally. Him saying he like trained for the Paralympics is like saying I trained for the Olympics. Okay? That's it. That's all that it is. Like every single thing that this dude has come out with, every single thing that this dude was come out with is like literally just complete fabrication. You can fucking turn around and be like, Hasan, you're dunking on a person in a wheelchair, but like, you know me, I'm never gonna fucking I'm never gonna hold back on someone because of their disability. I think it's disgusting to do so. So yeah, let's be real. So his signature, yeah, even his fucking signature looks like a baby, okay? Looks like a fucking child who is trying to appear as an adult. So now that I've said all of that, yeah, you're not dunking on him because he's in a wheelchair. You're dunking on him because he's lying shit back. Exactly. He also called Hitler Führer, which was very weird, even though he was like, Hitler is a gross evil. After he said he called him Führer. Very weird to attend the Eagle's Nest to visit Hitler's summer home and in the Instagram post say, we are visiting the Führer's summer home. I mean, everything about him screams fucking 4chan weirdo, okay? Chill, bro. He just likes, yeah, it was on his bucket list to visit the Eagle's Nest. He didn't say Mein Führer, he just said Führer. So, yeah, it's just like, it's super sus, okay? It's super fucking sus, but goddamn did he get fucking eviscerated on this interview. So now he's trying to do that thing that Republicans do, where, you know, now that we all know that this shit is dumb as fuck, this whole notion of like, now that we all know this notion of election fraud was completely bullshit, right? Because we went through it. There was a fucking insurrection. It's now no longer hot to put your name to that cause. You can't really do that. You can't really openly say like, well, the Dominion voting machines were fucking fraudulent and like Hugo Chavez did it. So because he can't do that, he's now saying like, oh, well, I didn't mean it like that. I meant like all of these other things. I meant like, I meant that the election was fraudulent in Wisconsin, and like, why aren't they talking about the Wisconsin one? Because, you know, Dominion is just suing the fuck out of everyone, right? Yes, I'm gonna run the ad right now before we get to the best part of this video. So I apologize. It's top of the hour every hour where there's a 60-second ad break. Folks, you already know what the deal is. If you no longer want to see the ads, you can subscribe. You can use an ad block. You can use a VPN and act like you're watching from fucking Turkey or some shit where they don't serve ads. Or you can subscribe with your Twitch Prime, which is free, and you will no longer see the ads. Here is the ad break right now, and I'm going to get started on the video as well. Okay. There was an appointed official in that town who actually went against the... Okay, don't use the ad blocker, says Syrian. ...will of the state legislature and created ballot drop boxes, which is basically ballot harvesting that was happening in the parks.
But this was all litigated. You know that the Trump campaign litigated all of this, more than 60 cases, and they lost. Either the cases were dismissed, the Trump campaign withdrew, or they never brought a case because they didn't have the evidence to back it up.
Indeed, I believe specifically, and this is the one that I debated on behalf of on the House floor, in Wisconsin, that was never heard because they dismissed it because of standing. Now, I don't believe that that is concrete enough of a way to say
Well, there were three Trump appointed. Okay, so you have Wisconsin, but you ended up not actually voting against Wisconsin. It was just Arizona and Pennsylvania because you didn't have the Senate votes. But three Trump appointed judges actually threw out these cases because of merit. It was because of merit. There were 3 Trump-appointed judges out of all of these judges and the more than 60 cases that were tossed out. And you keep talking about Wisconsin. I'm still not hearing any specific examples of fraud. If you would, just tell us, what are the specific examples you saw of fraud? Because when you think of fraud, you think...
He's like getting rosier and rosier as this interview is conducting. It's not even an interview at this point. It is an assassination, okay? There has been an assassination attempt on a representative's life here on CNN, and yet no one is talking about it, because when motherfuckers at CNN actually do their jobs, holy shit, this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what normal interviews should be like. They should conduct these interviews in exactly this way every time they have Democrats on and every time they have Republicans on, no matter who it is.
Think of a vote, you're slipping one past the election official, or a vote was stolen, somehow it didn't count. Did you see that specifically?
No, Pam, and like I said, that's not the reason I contested the election.
Oh, so you didn't see the fucking... So, I'm sorry. So you have literally no fucking evidence. You're saying that you know better than the fucking judges that oversaw the cases and declared it to be declared it to have no standing. You have no evidence whatsoever. Very strange. Where will he go after this? He's getting redder and redder, dude. I don't think he's gonna fucking do any of this. He needs more media training, brother. That is so bad.
Hold on. So you wanted to throw out millions of votes without actually seeing any concrete evidence of fraud? Because that's what you were doing when you were contesting the election. The intent there was throwing out millions of votes.
Well, I disagree with you on that point. That was not my intent. My intent was to hold up the Constitution, and setting up ballot drop boxes, which is essentially ballot harvesting in Wisconsin, is unconstitutional because the state legislature said they didn't want that.
So you know more than the judge, the Trump-appointed judge, who actually looked at that case before the election and dismissed the Trump campaign's argument that drop boxes are unconstitutional. And if you would you point to me and where in the Constitution it says that drop...
That's the best part. Like, why are drop boxes unconstitutional? Like, since when the fuck is it unconstitutional to be able to literally set up an official fucking drop box so that, like, your vote could be picked up with ease?
Boxes are unconstitutional. I don't recall seeing that in the Constitution.
No, so the way that I believe it was unconstitutional is because in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution, it states that only state legislatures will mandate the manner in which an election is conducted.
Okay.
Right.
We actually have that on the screen. Go ahead.
Excellent. But when you go into the state of Wisconsin, you see that the state legislature actually voted actively against having vote drop boxes there. And then in the town of Madison, they decided to set them up anyways.
So you're making an obscure case on this. Other constitutional experts say, look, what this says right here, this Article 2 of the Constitution says that the legislature can decide what dictates the electors. And they did decide before this election. The states did decide that the plurality of the vote would dictate who the electors are. So that did actually happen. And I just want to also ask you, what sort of research did you put in? What kind of work did you put in before you decided to make this objection? I'm just curious what you read. Did you actually go to any of the states to look at the voter fraud? What kind of research did you put into this?
Facebook groups, baby. I did my own research. I did my own research, woman. I did my own research, brother. Dude, he's like inflating like a fucking balloon, dude.
No, so we hired 3 constitutional lawyers who looked into this for our campaign, and then the findings that we had is that, as you said, I believe in reading the Constitution through the prism of original intent, and I believe the original intent of the framers of the Constitution was to make sure that the federal government can't exercise overreach and go into these states and dictate our laws of how to run elections.
So do you think the intent, too, was to throw out millions of votes because of a suspicion, not even concrete evidence, because of evidence, I should say, just because of a suspicion? Do you think that that was what our founders intended?
Yes. The originalist interpretation of the Constitution is no Democratic vote, no libtard votes cast, okay? And only American patriots in the form of conservatives. That was the original. That was what the original framers wanted. And any type of action that you can take against, I don't know, millions of fucking Americans voting and participating in the democratic process, doing their civic duty. All of that is bullshit. What is important is making sure that narcissistic billionaire man baby is president because his fifis are hurt. That's what the Constitution says. So, you know, that's what the originalist interpretation of the Constitution is. So, sorry.
Well, we do have concrete evidence that there were ballot drop boxes inside of Wisconsin. I don't have the white pages on me, but I would be happy to send that to you.
Right, but I'm still curious because I'm still confused on the unconstitutionality of drop boxes.
For the record, fuck the originalist interpretation. I've talked about this numerous times, but originalist interpretations of the Constitution is basically an intellectual patina on reactionary politics. Okay, that is the only fucking reason why people say originalist interpretation. It's fucking bullshit. You're just a racist, sometimes a fascist. You're a fucking piece of shit. You're a conservative. And you want to make it seem like you're intellectualizing your point of view by trying to interpret it that way. And it never, ever, ever fucking extends to like legitimate originalist interpretations, okay? There is no fucking originalist interpretation when it comes to abolishing labor unions, for example. And yet you see these originalist Supreme Court justices consistently take a very different approach when they're deciding to fucking, I don't know, yeet out any matter of unionization in this country. All of a sudden, there's no originalist interpretation there, but they seem to not give a fuck about that at all. Just like if you were to be honest, and if you were to look at the originalist interpretation, well, okay, then what? Black people are fucking worth 3/5 of white people? That only white landowning males can fucking participate in the American democratic process? That women, just like black people, are also fucking property? Like, what is that? Is that what we're doing? No, you don't fucking do that. You never do that because you understand that that's psychotic. But when it comes down to anything else, you're like, oh, well, that's the original interpretation. It's like, shut the fuck up. It's bullshit. Okay.
Is because a Trump-appointed judge dismissed that argument before the election. But if you would just answer my question. So you said you had 3 constitutional lawyers.
Oh, yeah. The originalist interpretation of the Second Amendment is, of course, super ironic because the only reason why we interpret the Second Amendment like as we do is a relatively new phenomena and advocated by those very same originalists who clearly did not interpret it in the way that it was meant to be interpreted at the time, and totally fucking made it up as they go along. Okay? Totally made it up as they go along. No one before like 1990 ever thought about the Second Amendment in the way that we do now. Okay?
What other work did you put into actually looking at whether there was fraud in this past election? Because as you know, Congressman, and you knew coming on the show, look, you were spouting some really inflammatory claims after the election and before the January 6th riot, okay? You voted even after the riot to decertify results, millions of votes. So I'm just wondering, what kind of work did you put into making sure you were rock solid before making those claims and deciding to do that?
Yes, ma'am. So mainly it was going through having these constitutional lawyers look into the state of Wisconsin, the people that were actually supposed to try the case, and then looking at their evidence, and we presented that to the American people. A significant portion of the American people agreed with it. I agreed with it myself, and I believe that it was a constitutional infraction, and so that's why I opposed the election. Now, you keep bringing up that I did it even after the January 6th insurrection, which, again, I think is despicable and I absolutely condemn. But the people who changed their vote because of that, I believe they were doing it because of political expedience, either if they were going to contest or if they weren't going to contest. The actions of January 6th do not change what happened in the November election, and I believe what happened in Wisconsin was unconstitutional.
Okay, so you keep focusing on Wisconsin. focusing on Wisconsin, but there were several battleground states that you contested to, that you talked about. There were several that President Trump had lost. So it's interesting you're focusing on Wisconsin, but would you apply the same issues you had with these battleground states to your own state of North Carolina? Because North Carolina also changed a lot of the rules, even after voters had started voting. Why didn't you
Oh no! Oh
have
no!
concerns about your own home state of North Carolina?
Oh no!
Well, you know what, Pam, I'm actually not aware of the laws that were changed inside of North Carolina. I believe we had a very safe and a very secure election here.
There were
and
several rules.
There's no reason to contest that.
Yeah, there were several rules, one of which is to extend when the mail-in ballots could arrive, I believe, by around 7 days. That was one, and there were a couple of others as well that were changed.
See, what you don't understand is I won in North Carolina, which means that it's fine. It's not fraudulent. What is so hard to comprehend about this, lady? When Republicans win, that's not fraudulent. When Democrats win, that's fraudulent. That is how this works. Why are you having a hard time comprehending how this process is supposed to work, lady? That's right. Because the Constitution told me it's okay. If Republicans lose, then it's fraudulent. If Democrats lose, then it's all right. That's how it's supposed to be.
Even after people started voting. So I'm just wondering, if you're so concerned about these rules being changed with the election, why wouldn't you focus on your own home state of North Carolina? I mean, you're telling me that your concern really is about election integrity, not politics, not the results of the election, right?
See, an experienced debater would say, whataboutism, okay? Or, I don't know, that's like whataboutism, or an experienced debater like a Ben Shabibo type would have fucking rolled over her, let's be real. She did a good enough job of preparing for the first line of questions. She had counters to the first line of questions, but he is not experienced at all. He hasn't learned from the school of fucking Karl Rove and Ben Shabibo and all these other like sick freaks on the Republican side who very clearly will like say something that's like maybe tangentially racist. So you hyper focus on that, and then the conversation turns to like whether she's being inappropriate for calling him a racist or not. You know what I mean? Like, there are many different avenues out of this that Republicans routinely fucking use, and he's not there. Like, he hasn't figured that shit out. He thinks that you can have this conversation on the merits. No, Republicans never have a conversation on the merits because they have no fucking standing, because what they're advocating for is literally not the reality. So if you are consistently fucking lying all the time, and the other side actually has fucking factual information to back up their claims, then what you're supposed to do is lie further, deflect, and then take them down into a rabbit hole with you. And Ben Shabibo does a really good job with this. Okay? And other congresspersons are relatively decent at it too. You're supposed to say some fucking psychotic shit and then, cast an accusation back at CNN and be like, why was there no coverage of the Hunter Biden laptops? Boom. Conversation all of a sudden completely irrelevant. Completely forget every single fucking thing that happened leading up to this moment. And Ted Cruz does this very well too, despite the fact that he is literally a fucking evangelical hobgoblin. He is very good at that. Why aren't we talking about Hunter Biden laptops? I came here to talk about the integrity of mainstream media. Totally fucking lie. You don't give a shit about mainstream media integrity. You're just fucking lying. And he's not doing that. That's precisely why he's getting clapped here. What's the counter trap for whataboutisms? Oh, you say, well, if someone says that's a whataboutism, like, why are you talking about my election here? I say, you're a fucking you're a seated representative. Wouldn't you want to know if your election was actually fucking legitimate or not? You're saying you're casting doubt on elections all around the country and not your own. It's not a whataboutism. It's absolutely something that is important to talk about, especially considering the fact that you are making this a point of conversation, but conveniently ignoring the fact that your own personal election was totally fine. Like, just don't accept your opponent's reframing and center the conversation back at the matter at hand. These people say we need to interpret the Constitution as having intricacies and hyperbole, and simultaneously think Noah actually built an ark for every animal on Earth. No. We were able to pump up the contrast and enhance. We were able to analyze the stress level. Anyway, the fact of the matter is that Wisconsin's legislature granted the election committee to change the rules, and they did so by allowing drop boxes. The judge upheld that election committee was in fact allowed to perform their actions legally as they were prescribed by the legislature. So even he's an even bigger dumbass say it's illegal. Yeah. And the irony, of course, there's two layers here. There's two levels here. One is, well, why the fuck didn't you cry about it before the election? And like, because it's too fucking late after the election. And again, why aren't you crying about it on your own fucking election? Oh, wait, because you fucking won that election.
That is absolutely correct. I didn't do that for any one man or against any one man.
Okay. So North Carolina, though, the same issues you've had and you've expressed about the battleground states, those are the same issues that are in your own state of North Carolina. And North Carolina actually did have mail-in ballot fraud in 2018.
That's true. The irony is North Carolina actually had crazy mail-in ballot fraud because of ballot harvesting. And someone, guess what party? Guess what fucking party did the fucking mail-in ballot fraud in North Carolina? Please. Well, then it's not. Then it's not. It's not actually a. Listen. My friend. Ballot harvesting conducted on behalf of the Republican Party is not real. Okay? It's not real. Listen. I don't want to talk about GOP operatives here. We are here to talk about illegal voting, not legal voting. When Republicans do ballot harvesting, we're actually doing it to learn what the Democrats are doing. That's why we did it in North Carolina. The hilarity is, like, again, the most notable, most famous case of ballot harvesting and ballot fraud, basically, conducted in North Carolina was literally conducted by the GOP operatives there. Okay? He must be Antifa. Legit question, 2019 from the 2018 midterms.
So you're not concerned about your home state and whether you were duly elected by your own standards?
Well, I'll tell you, because of the mail-in ballot fraud that happened in the midterms here in 2018, I believe our election integrity standards here in North Carolina are some of the greatest in the country. I think they should apply this metric all over the country, but that's just my opinion.
So the Democratic-led governor's
the rules that you're talking about
office
that were changed.
Okay, so the Democratic governor and the Democratic-led election board, they all they turned everything around in terms of the concerns about election fraud in North Carolina.
I believe they did. Yes, the election that was actually overturned was a Republican one in 2018.
No, what I'm saying is, after that, there was a Democratic governor, a Democratic election board. You're saying they've turned things around, that things are safer in North Carolina now. So I'm just saying, so you're giving the Democrats credit then for making voting safer in your state, and so that's why you're not worried.
Absolutely.
I can't believe I'm over here shitting on literally the congressperson that is a mishmash of Ludwig and soda poppin', by the way. Like, literally, if you put Ludwig and soda poppin' together in a machine, this would be the outcome.
Absolutely. I think our election board here in North Carolina is second to none. I voted for a different person for governor, but I will say that Roy Cooper here in North Carolina did make sure we had a safe and secure election. So when I contested to the election, that was within the constitutional guidelines that the framers had set up. But after I've done that and the electors and the delegates from each state elected Joe Biden as our president, I respect the office. He is my president, and I want to work with him to make sure that we can bring some meaningful change to the American people, although I think he will disagree with most of my policies.
And that's okay. Disagreement of policies is normal. But can you now say that the election was not stolen, that it wasn't a fraudulent election?
Yes, I think I would say that the election was not fraudulent. The Constitution allowed.
Wait, why are you there then? Wait, what? Why are you still? What the fuck, dude? Why did all this happen then?
For us to be able to push back as much as we could, and I did that to the amount of the constitutional limits that I had at my disposal. So now I would say that Joseph R. Biden is our president.
And you have no regrets?
No, I do not have any regrets.
That's so okay, dude. That was a very weird. That was a very, very weird back and forth that occurred there. But ultimately, I guess he concedes and he admits. I don't know what the fuck that was.